Hello and welcome to another episode of Miniature Painting with the Jolly Good Giant. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to prep your models. Today's video is brought to you by Plaid Craft Company, Mills Community Media, and TJ's Cafe and Games in Milford, Massachusetts. I'm going to be painting up a Impact Miniatures Gazebo Mimic. It's a gazebo. It's a monster. Okay. I'm not painting, but that's the model I'm prepping. So the first thing you want to do is take your model out and look for flash or mold lines. That's little pieces of plastic or metal that are left over from when the model was made and made in the mold. So using a sharp hobby knife, and if you're under the age of 16, you want to make sure you have a parent's supervision or help with this. You want to carefully cut along and pop those mold lines off. Or if you're younger than that, or you don't feel like you have steady hands, you can use a craft file. I picked up a pack of these at the local hardware store for pretty inexpensively. I don't remember the amount off the top of my head. I think they ended up being like $1 each. So I'm just going to use this to file along and remove any flash or mold lines, like I said, which is extra pieces of plastic or metal if you're doing a metal model. And you can just, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's just grinding the plastic away. So I'll do one more. This is an example. Works well on impact models because they tend to be made of a hard resin material. We're going to move these out of the way now because once we're done with that, the next step is to wash your model thoroughly with dish soap and warm water. I usually use Dawn dish soap. It just works well for me. And that is going to remove any of the oils from your fingerprints and also any mold release agent. So if you look here, this is very, very flat looking. By flat, I mean it's not shiny. There's no gloss or sheen to it, because I washed it thoroughly to make sure that I removed all of the oils or mold release agent. So that's what I did there. That would be the second step. So after you thoroughly wash and dry your model, then you want to use primer on it. Now I use two different types of primer, or two different methods for priming. Both using Plaid products. One is I take multi-surface black paint, put a little bit in there, and then I also use Podge Ultra, which is a sealer, and that's got a lot of uses, but I use it as a sealer and also as a thinning agent for paint and a primer. So we're going to take those, we're going to mix them together thoroughly. Now it's thinned out the paint a little bit, but it also made it so it's more adhesive. I think that's the right word I want to use. Unfortunately, with this type of model, sometimes you have to do 2 coats, but it works really well with models from Reaper Miniatures and also WizKids Miniatures. You want to add a black base coat. So with this one, you're probably going to have to do it twice. But you can kind of see. So once that dries through, then I would go through and do another one. If I did not wash my model thoroughly beforehand and I applied this. This is with 2 coats of paint. I put the model together and then started painting it. You can see the spots of gray coming through the black there. That's because there's still mold release agent there. Maybe you can see it up by the eye there too on the face. And it's around all the way around. So I'm going to have to wash this model again before I try to paint it. And the next method is to use Mod Podge Acrylic Sealer. After your models, again, you take the mold lines off, the flash off, you wash it thoroughly and dry it, then you take it outside or a well-ventilated area, lay it down and spray it. I think this has 3 coatings on it. So yeah, it's a little bit glossy. I use the gloss sealer so I know that I got all the spots that I want to get. Because if I use flat, it might be harder for me to tell. So this one, I can just take, and here's an example of one I did. I just used the multi-surface paint just by itself over it. I didn't add any of the Ultra Mod Podge into it. So it works pretty well. In fact, I'm probably going to be using that method going forward with most of my models, using the Mod Podge acrylic sealer as a primer. So that's pretty much the gist of the video today. If you come back in a few weeks, I'm going to show you how to paint this model from beginning to end. Show you what I do to add some color and depth to it, and paint the eyes and the teeth and all that fun stuff. And if you check back again in a few more weeks for a future episode, I'm going to show you how to change this child's toy into a fun display piece. Thanks for joining me and have an awesome day. Hello and welcome to Painting with Paul on Millis Community Media. Today's episode is brought to you by Plaid Craft Company, Impact Miniatures, and World War Scenics. Today I'm going to be painting up a Mimic Gazebo from Impact Miniatures. They come in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. Kind of tough to glue together, so I recommend this model for ages 13 and up, or with some adult supervision, even with some adult supervision at 13 and up. Definitely want to wash the pieces well. So let's get to it. In the prep video, I glued it all together. Then I sprayed it with Plaid clear acrylic spray. It seemed to work pretty well as a primer. Then I went over it, and I'm going to just say right now, I don't know if these are all the exact colors that I used when I did these models, because I painted these about 3 months ago, and it's just been tough getting in here to do this. So you really just need 3 shades of brown, a little bit of an off yellow or dark yellow, some white and some black. So I mixed a little bit of a dark brown with some black on this one to get the base coat. The next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit of this dark brown. This one is going to be real brown. It's a multi-surface paint. Mix it up, shake the bottle. Use a flat brush because, I always use flat brush. So I'm going to use a bigger flat brush this time though. Gonna dry brush here. I'm going to take a little bit of the paint off. I'm going to go light quick strokes back and forth. Really just trying to catch the edges of the shingles right now. Just trying to catch all the sharp edges around the model. Might lightly go around again, whole model. Being careful to leave some of the black in there because I paint my models black first, so I don't have to deal with washes or liners, because I just feel like it takes an unnecessary step out of the equation. But some people like to use them. Occasionally I'll use a wash. Sometimes if it's a really detailed model, or if it's for a commission, or for a friend, I will use a wash on it. Or something that's going to be featured on my TikTok or one of my other social media platforms. Impact Miniatures also makes a really cool model that is a Trojan horse model. That is for their My Little Pony Chibi Pony line. Not My Little Pony, but their Chibi Pony line. And you can fit a couple of the Chibi ponies inside from the Pony Finder game. It's a cute little model, kind of cool. Got some neat detail and wood texture going on. So the top part has had a chance to dry because I did the paint so light, because I did dry brush and not wet brush. So I'm going to go over it again a little bit to add some more brown, to give it a little more of a richer brown there, not just black. I'm going to call that one good. Whoop! It's a dancing gazebo mimic. Put this down and rinse my brush. You can see the next step is a little bit lighter, so I obviously applied a little more brown than I did on this one, or I used a slightly lighter brown when I painted the model I don't recall. Let me use, this is Nutmeg. This one's not a multi-surface paint, but since I've already got so many coats of multi-surface paint, a regular acrylic paint should be just fine. So again, I'm going to take my model. I'll try to focus mostly on the roof. And I'm going to do the interior parts here on this one and not focus on the cross sections to make them stand out a little bit more. I actually thought I did 5 of these models. I just don't know where the other one is. Pretty sure I did 5. So I might be missing a step somewhere. I'm going to do these beams with lighter brown, like I said. For anyone interested in my youth and family painting group at the Millis Public Library, I'm actually doing one more workshop there, and then I am all done. December 11th from noon till we're done. I'm fine staying there till 4 or 5 that day if folks want to stay that late. I'll have quite a few miniatures there to be given out to paint, most of which have been supplied by the Friends of the Millis Community Library. I'm very grateful to them for all their support over the years. They are looking for a replacement for me for that group. If you're a miniature painter or an artist in any capacity, they would like to speak to you about running that volunteer youth and family painting group. And you can just reach out to the library director, Kim Tolson, if you're interested. So I'm going to let that dry just a second because I'm pretty sure I'm missing a model here somewhere because I feel like I jumped some steps here. I'm going to let that dry and I'm going to use the next level, lighter level of brown, which is Coffee Latte. This one again is multi-surface. I prefer using multi-surface on my models. I feel like it just adheres better. Again, if you've seen any of my previous videos, sometimes I add a little bit of Mod Podge Ultra, which is the sealer that I use at the end. I'm actually going to use a smaller brush this time. I'm going to go for some details on the shingles. Use this fine one. It's number 1 round. I mean, this is just how I'm doing it. You can paint your gazebo mimic however you like. If you want to give it metallic shingles, Plaid makes so many different types of metallic paints. I'm a big fan of the brushed metal line. It's got brushed black metal. Also, I like their gunmetal gray from Folkart. Sometimes if I want to do a completely metal miniature and have it look metallic, I'll paint it completely black with, with the multi-surface black. Then I'll paint over it with gunmetal gray or the brushed black. And then I'll dry brush the other colors in metallic form, like a metallic brown or a metallic green, whatever I'm going for with the model. And it'll make it look like it's a metal statue. It's kind of fun. I did it once with a Skylander miniature that I did as a prize for Clyde Brown a couple of years ago for the kids. From one of their contests they had. I really like the way it came out. So I'm just dabbing a little bit of this lighter brown on random shingles. Also, when I did these models before, I know I did a different one that's not here other than because I thought I did 6 total. The other one, I put a little piece of metal. I didn't glue this part to it. I made it so it could come off. I put a little magnet down here and a magnet up in here, and a little piece of paper clip and a little piece of paper clip so you could stick it in and pull it out. It worked kind of good, but the paint kept getting rubbed off, so I decided it would just be easier and more practical to just glue it in. And if your players are coming up on it, it's this way, and then if it turns into a monster, it flips around. If you play D&D or other tabletop games. But I do not, so I'm just one of those guys that likes to paint them. It's usually relaxing. So anyway, we're going to keep going around that. Just do a little bit of touch-ups here and there. So we had some different shadings of brown. I don't need to do the whole thing. I'll just give you an idea. So we move on to the next one. I'm going to close this up. So for this one, I'm going to add a little bit of this ochre, yellow ochre, to just add some aged look to it. Aged look. At least that's my goal. I'm a big fan of this color. I like using this in burnt sienna. It's just like a brownish orange. I like using those a lot when I'm doing ground or wood colors. So again, wipe off my brush. I'm using, I believe, a number 4 flat. This one's a Waverly brush. I love the Waverly line. They are such good brushes for miniature painting, especially for dry brushing. I'm going to be honest, I don't think this is the color I used when I did the other one. I think I used maybe caramel. This is coming out kind of bright for me. I may go over it again with that lighter brown. But light, quick strokes just adds a little bit of color and depth to it. So yeah, I give it a little bit of a yellowy hue there. I'm probably going to, like I said, go over it again with the lighter brown once more. Just because I think I made it a little too yellow. Doesn't look the same as this one here on the end. Not that they're all going to look the same, but mix a little bit of that ochre in with the lighter brown that I had. I'm actually going to get the teeth with that ochre as well, because I didn't use metallic white on the last one I did, but that's all I have with me. So it's going to have a little bit of metallic white for the eyes and the teeth, which might give it a little bit of a wet look anyway. So I'm not too bummed out about it. All right, I'm gonna let that dry. And after it's dried, I'm going to do the eyes real quick, and we'll end up with this model on the end, close to that model. You know what? Maybe I'll make a little bit of a wash after all. Make a wash, you mix some paint, some water together. I'm just going to make a light wash real quick. Normally you would want to do it in a tray of some kind, but I don't have another one with me, so I'm doing it this way. So, going on kind of heavy, wet here. Worst part is I don't have a paper towel on me to pat this off. I wasn't thinking of that. I don't really like this shirt anyway. Oh, screw it. I mean, pardon my language. You want to pat the wash off after you apply it, so it gets into the grooves a little bit. And then I'm going to dry brush again, another color over it. I'm going to use the middle brown. So this video is turning into a little bit longer than I had intended. But yeah, I like that better. So I like that. Just going to add a couple of tufts of grass real quick. Could do it on this one in the front. It's a mimic, it's a creature, so for all I know, these are feelers. I don't know. I don't play D&D, so I think I mentioned that like 20 million times already. But I would like to imagine that these are some sort of, like a cat has whiskers. So the mimic knows if an animal or something's nearby, it can pounce on it, or whatever mimics do. Right, so I'm going to do the teeth and eyes real quick, and then we'll be done. I do love the pearl white. One of my favorite colors with them. It's odd, I really like the pearl white, and I like the metallic black. So. The thing I like about this pearl white, leaves the metallic. You can see it looks almost silvery, but you can see a little bit of the brown through it up close. I don't know if you can tell it on the video, but I can see it. So it makes it more like, looks more like an eyeball. Gives it that effect. The teeth, I'm going to go on a little bit heavier than I normally would for the very same reason, but actually it doesn't look too bad. Especially since I used the ochre on there to give it sort of a yellowish tinge. I think I might like this one the best so far. So that's cool. I was going to do the eyes, pupil slits. We'll call it a show. We'll call it done. Now, the eyes I'm not going to do dry brush. I'm going to do them wet brush. I don't know if you can tell in there. It's kind of hard to do freehand. I still struggle with eyes sometimes. These eyes are pretty big. So I'm just going to paint like a V and then fill it in. That's how I'm going to do these cat-like or dragon-like eyes. I'm going to do a V and fill it in. I got a little bit on his eyelid, but I'm going to go over it with another brown, some of this wash real quick, and that should fix it. And when you're done, you want to brush them down or spray them down with Podge Ultra or the acrylic sealer spray. You have he's a little cross-eyed, your Gazebo Mimic. Thanks for joining me today, and have a great night.